Okay, so get this right. A whole bunch of you sent in info on this UFO sighting in Illinois, January 5th, 2000.
Oh yeah, this one's a classic.
Multiple witnesses, we're talking police officers even, all describing, get this, a mysterious triangular object.
The Illinois Triangle.
We've got firsthand accounts, official reports, even some sketches.
It's a good one.
So are you ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
All right, then buckle up, everybody, because we are going deep on the Illinois Triangle.
You know what always gets me about this case is it wasn't just like one person seeing something weird, you know? It was a whole chain of events, starting with this truck driver, Melvern Noll. 4 a.m., he's out checking on his miniature golf course.
Miniature golf at 4 a.m.
Yeah, I know, right? Already sounds a little strange.
Okay, so what did Mr. Noll see?
Well, he describes this massive object like a 2-story house. And here's the thing, windows and red lights underneath.
Windows, like actual windows. Yeah.
That's what he said. And that detail about windows, that always gets me. Because it suggests there's something, you know, more to this than just lights in the sky, something structured.
Okay, so not your average shooting star. What'd he do next?
He went straight to the police, Highland Police Department. That's where Officer Ed Barton comes in.
All right, so now we have a police officer involved. Things are getting official.
Exactly. And Officer Barton's account it's pretty detailed. First, he sees these 2 bright lights, right? But as he's watching, they merge. And the object, it takes on this cigar shape.
Okay.
But then it changes again. It morphs into this massive triangle. White lights at each corner and a red one flashing right in the center.
Hold on. A shape-shifting UFO. That's straight out of a movie.
I know. But Barton, remember, he's a police officer. He's trained to observe and report. He even turned off his car lights and radio to get a clearer look. He said this thing, it wasn't moving like any aircraft he'd ever seen, rotating in midair without banking or tilting.
So it's like defying physics.
Pretty much. Defying aerodynamics as we know them.
Okay, this is wild. Did anyone else see this thing?
Well, that's the thing. Officer Barton, he radios in his observations, right? And that's when Officer David Martin over in Shiloh, he reports seeing it too.
So now we have 2 police officers in different towns seeing this thing. Were their descriptions similar?
Similar, but with some interesting differences. So Barton's describing a triangle, right? But Martin, he says it was more arrow-shaped with 3 white lights and red and green ones at the back.
So different shapes, different colors.
Exactly. So then you start to wonder, right? Were they seeing different angles of the same object, or were there multiple objects up there?
Multiple UFOs. Okay, I'm officially hooked. Who else joins this UFO party?
All right, so get this. Our 3rd officer, Craig Stevens from Millstadt, he hears the radio chatter, right? So he drives out to this open field to get a better view. He also reports a triangular shape, but his description of the lights is a little different again.
Uh-oh. More variations.
Yep. He saw a white light on each side and one at the back, plus a single red light underneath. And the craziest part is, he tried to photograph it.
No way. With what? His phone?
No, this is 2000, remember? He had a Polaroid camera, but it was so cold that it messed up the picture. It came out all blurry.
Talk about bad timing. So we've got 3 officers, all with slightly different descriptions, but all agreeing on this generally triangular shape and these strange lights. Like, what are the odds?
It's pretty remarkable, and we can't forget about the 4th officer, an unnamed officer from Dupo. He saw the object at a much higher altitude this time, described it as a cluster of white and red lights through binoculars.
Okay, so different shapes, different lights, different altitudes. It's like trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces.
And that's just the beginning. You also have these intriguing details about how this thing moved. Multiple officers described it as incredibly slow at times, almost hovering.
Right. Officer Stevens even said it seemed to be like defying gravity with how slowly it moved. But then there are these reports of it just like taking off at incredible speeds.
Yeah. Officer Barton said it accelerated so fast that he could barely track it with his eyes.
Wow. And then you have Officer Martin saying that it just disappeared, like in the wink of an eye, vanished.
It really makes you wonder what they were witnessing. These details, especially about the sudden speed and near silent movement, they're really hard to explain with any conventional aircraft.
Right, even if it was some kind of super secret military thing.
Exactly. Even advanced military aircraft would make a ton of noise, especially at those low altitudes. It just doesn't add up. And then there are the sketches, those police sketches and the artistic reconstructions,
Oh
right?
yeah, right. Those are always interesting. Like a visual aid.
Yeah, exactly. It helps us picture what those officers were actually seeing.
Right. Like Officer Barton's sketch, I think. Didn't he say that the back of the object reminded him of the Millennium Falcon?
He did, from Star Wars.
Okay, so maybe it wasn't an actual spaceship from a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah.
But that comparison, it tells you something, about how strange this thing must have looked.
Totally. It adds this whole other layer of intrigue to this whole event. And you've also got those official police report sketches too, right? Trying to show the shape and the lights based on what the witnesses said.
So even though they're not like actual photographs, these sketches, they kind of help us like get inside the heads of the witnesses, right? See how they saw this object.
Absolutely. And they really emphasize that consistent triangular shape, and all the different ways those lights were arranged. It's pretty fascinating.
It is. It's a bummer though that there isn't like a clear, like an actual photograph of this thing. Officer Stevens tried, but his camera.
Oh yeah, the cold got to it.
Talk about bad timing.
I know, right? It's frustrating, how so many of these UFO sightings, they just happen so unexpectedly, and people aren't prepared, to capture them properly.
Makes sense. You're not exactly walking around with high-speed camera waiting for a UFO to show up.
Exactly. So in this case, we're left with the reports and the sketches, which is something, I guess, but a good photo or video would have been incredible.
No kidding. That would have been like game over.
Right. Case closed. But even without that like undeniable proof, the sheer number of credible witnesses and how much their stories line up, it makes this a really hard case to just like dismiss.
It does. And especially when you consider who the witnesses are.
Exactly. I mean, we're talking about trained observers, right? Police officers, they deal with unusual situations all the time.
So they know how to like observe and report details accurately.
Yeah, and so to have multiple independent accounts, especially from people like that adds a lot of weight to their experience, It's not just one person's imagination. It's a group of people all seeing basically the same thing.
Right. Okay, so let's get into some of the possible explanations that people have come up with over the years.
Yeah.
One idea I've heard is that it was like a secret military aircraft.
Oh yeah, that's a popular one. And with Scott Air Force Base being so close.
It seems reasonable, right?
It does. But here's the thing. Scott Air Force Base, they've officially denied any involvement.
Really? Officially denied it.
Yeah. But of course, some people argue that could be a cover-up, right? To keep classified information under wraps.
That's true. Governments do that sometimes. And there's no denying that the U.S. military has some pretty high-tech stuff, things that most of us probably don't even know about.
That's true. But the question is, could even the most advanced aircraft do the things that these witnesses describe, like the near silent movement, the sudden speed changes, those sharp turns at low altitude? That's pretty unusual, even for cutting edge technology.
Good point. What about a drone then? Could it have been an experimental drone or something?
Some people bring up drones because they've gotten so advanced in recent years. But remember, this happened back in 2000, right?
Oh yeah, that's right.
So the technology we have today just wasn't around back then. The drones of the time were nowhere near as sophisticated.
Okay, so if it wasn't military and it wasn't a drone,
yeah,
what else could it be? What other explanations are out there?
Well, I've seen some theories about unusual weather phenomena, like ball lightning or a temperature inversion, things like that.
Could those really create something that looked like a structured object?
Well, weather can definitely create some strange visual effects. We know that, but they don't usually behave in such a controlled way, or form those distinct shapes that the witnesses described.
Right. Like I'm picturing ball lightning just like zapping around randomly, not like hovering and making precise turns.
Yeah, exactly. Ball lightning, it's known for being unpredictable, right? Erratic, not holding a steady position or making, sharp turns like a spaceship or something.
So that leaves us with
the big one.
The extraterrestrial hypothesis. Could it have actually been like an alien spacecraft?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it? It's the most, extraordinary explanation.
Yeah.
But it's also one that we can't just rule out. I mean, if we trust what these witnesses said and we accept that this object, it moved in ways that we just can't explain, then the possibility of it being extraterrestrial becomes, well, possible.
It's a mind-blowing concept to even think about. But I guess the proof needs to be pretty strong to back up that kind of claim.
Oh, absolutely. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And in this case, we just don't have that one piece of evidence, that would end the debate once and for all.
That smoking gun.
Right, exactly. But even without that irrefutable proof, the Illinois Triangle UFO sighting, it keeps people fascinated. It keeps people wondering about what's really out there. It does. And it makes you think, right? I mean, we've gone over what the witnesses said, we've analyzed the evidence, we've explored the different explanations, but now it's really up to you, the listener, to decide what you believe.
Yeah. What do you think happened in the skies over Illinois that cold January morning? I mean, was it a secret military project? Was it some strange weather event we don't fully understand yet, or was it something even more extraordinary?
And here's something else to consider. We've been focusing on the facts and the evidence and all that, but let's not forget about the human element, right?
It's human element. Yeah, that's important.
Yeah. I mean, when we talk about eyewitness accounts, we need to remember that even the most well-meaning people, they can make mistakes, especially in a situation that's unexpected or frightening.
Right. It's like your brain is trying to process something it's never seen before.
Exactly. And so things like how well they could see, how far away the object was, how fast it was moving, all these things can affect, how a person remembers what they saw. And let's not forget about the psychological impact, of seeing something so completely out of the ordinary.
Yeah, I mean, it would be shocking, disorienting even.
Absolutely. It's natural for people to try to make sense of what they see, right? And sometimes that can lead to unintentional embellishments or changes in their memory over time. It happens.
Like our brain's trying to fill in the blanks.
Right. And it's also possible that, hearing other people's accounts, that might also influence how they remember the event. It's a complex thing, memory.
It is. So how do we sift through all this information and try to figure out, what really happened? How can we be like critical thinkers, and question what we hear, but also stay open to the possibility that something truly, truly amazing occurred?
It's a tough balance, right? It's a real balancing act. I mean, we need to consider, how reliable the witnesses are, how consistent their stories are, how likely each explanation is, and we also have to be aware of our own biases, right? And how they might be coloring our interpretation of the events.
That's true. We all come to these things with our own preconceived notions.
We do, but what always strikes me about this case is how genuine those officers sound on those dispatch tapes.
Oh yeah, those are chilling.
Yeah, they weren't trying to get attention or make up a story. They were genuinely baffled by what they saw.
You can hear it in their voices.
Yeah, and that's what makes this case so compelling, I think. You have these trained observers, people who are used to dealing with unusual situations, and they're expressing this level of uncertainty and even fear. And that's pretty rare. It really suggests that they encountered something that they couldn't explain.
Something truly unknown.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the Illinois Triangle, it reminds us that we still have so much to learn about our world, about the universe, and about our own limitations in understanding it all.
It's humbling.
It is. It encourages us to question what we assume to be true, right? To explore different perspectives, to embrace the mystery of the unknown.
To stay curious.
Exactly.
Well, we've given you a deep dive into the Illinois Triangle UFO sighting. We've gone through the witness accounts, analyzed the evidence, and explored the different possibilities. And now it's your turn.
It's up to you to decide.
What do you believe?
Do you think it was a secret military project, a misidentified weather phenomenon, or something even more incredible? Whatever you conclude, I hope this deep dive has encouraged you to keep an open mind and to never lose your sense of wonder about the world around us.
It's amazing to me that something like this could just happen and we might never know for sure what it was.
I know. It's wild.
Is there anything else about this case that stands out to you? Anything we haven't touched on yet?
One thing that I think often gets overlooked in these cases is is the impact these events have on the witnesses themselves.
Oh, that's an interesting point.
Yeah, imagine seeing something that just like defies your understanding of the world, you know? It can really shake you up.
That makes sense. I mean, these officers, they were just out on a normal night doing their jobs, and then suddenly, bam, they're caught up in this UFO sighting. It must have been, I don't know, pretty unsettling, to say the least.
For sure, it challenges their sense of reality, and it can be, you know, it can be hard to reconcile what they saw with their previous beliefs, you know.
Absolutely. Like, how do you just go back to normal life after that?
Exactly. And some witnesses, you know, they might even hesitate to share their experiences for fear of, you know, ridicule or disbelief.
Oh yeah, for sure. People might think they're making it up, or that they're somehow, you know, unreliable because they saw something strange.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to approach these accounts, you know, with sensitivity and an open mind. It's a reminder that there's still so much we don't know about the world around us.
So after looking at all the evidence, the different perspectives, I mean, what do you think happened in the skies over Illinois that night? What's your take?
It's tough, you know. There's no easy answer. And that's part of what makes it so fascinating, right? While some explanations seem, you know, more likely than others, there's always that element of doubt, that possibility that it could be something truly extraordinary.
The mystery remains.
It does, and I guess that's the beauty of it, right? It keeps us thinking, keeps us questioning, keeps us exploring.
It definitely keeps us coming back for more deep dives.
That's for sure.
Well, we've given you a deep dive into the Illinois Triangle UFO sighting. We've gone through the witness accounts, we've analyzed the evidence, we've explored the different possibilities, but now it's your turn to decide what you believe. Do you think it was a secret military project? A misidentified weather phenomenon? Or something even more incredible?
Whatever you conclude, we hope this deep dive has encouraged you to keep an open mind.
And never lose that sense of wonder about the world around us. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep looking up.